Hi everyone, it's Safrina Kadri from Feng Shui and Prosper.com. I am the prime Feng Shui consultant and, of course, founder of Feng Shui and Prosper.com. And I wanted to do another quick simulcast. If you see my eyes darting around, it's because I have two cameras that I'm concentrating on. I'm doing a Periscope again, as well as a Google Hangout. So again, a simulcast. I'm a mommy, I'm a multitasker, so I'm going to try to do as much eye contact as possible between the two cameras. Anyway, I'm doing this quick Google Hangout and a quick scope about the different schools of Feng Shui. Now, some of you guys if I'm not new to you, you probably know that I have an event coming up next Sunday where I talk about Feng Shui 2016 and I talk specifically about Flying Star Feng Shui and how that will impact the spaces that you live in. And I got an email that came in and asked me, why do I need to learn about Flying Star Feng Shui? Of all the Feng Shui schools out there, why is Flying Star the one that I need to focus on compared to the other Feng Shui information out there? So this is why I'm doing this quick scope or / Google Hangout to quickly address this. Now, some of you may have heard me say this before. There are classical schools of Feng Shui, meaning they have techniques and formulas and calculations that are rooted in how Feng Shui was done in olden China hundreds and thousands of years ago, right? Those are obviously very involved. You need a lot of information and, like I said, formulas and calculations. So you actually need a lot of knowledge in order to properly do your Feng Shui placements. Obviously, you want to get results, right? And those are classical Feng Shui. Flying Star Feng Shui is part of that, where we don't just look at the space, not just the internal space, not just what's within your four walls. We also take a look at the external environment. And Flying Star specifically actually take in the time dimension even. So even if you Feng Shuied your place 10 years ago, based on Flying Star Feng Shui, you still need to update your placements at the very least annually. Because even science tells us that energy is constantly changing. It's never stagnant. So how is it logical for us to do Feng Shui placement, do it one time and forget it? It's not like a slow cooker. You don't place it and walk away. You have to constantly refresh that. For whoever's watching me right now on Google Hangout as well as on Periscope, I'm sorry I didn't see the names pop up, but thank you so much for joining me. Where was I? Lost my train of thought. But pretty much, so that Flying Star Feng Shui is under the classical Feng Shui banner. There's a few other schools as well, but Flying Star is the main one that I practice. Hi, Reza. I saw you follow me yesterday. Thank you so much for that. Great to see you again. And then, since the 40s or even the 60s, 1960s, there seems to be more information coming out. It is great that it's popularizing Feng Shui, but at the same time, what saddens us classical Feng Shui enthusiasts is that it actually waters down. Hi, Carmelita. Thanks for following me on Periscope. A lot of watered down information about Feng Shui, and that unfortunately has gained a lot of traction, especially in terms of Feng Shui enthusiasts now. If you look at books, if you look at online, if you Google forums or whatever, a lot of the information is actually what I call fast food Feng Shui. You guys, some of you have heard me say this before. It's very apt because, you go to a fast food joint, you order a burger meal or whatever, and you think you're feeding your body food, but it's not food. Same thing with this fast food Feng Shui, right? It makes you think you're doing Feng Shui, but it's not. The tip of how you know if it's a fast food feng shui. If it says you only have one money corner, it's in the southeast. You only have one love corner, it's in the southwest. That is a huge tip off. Or if there's like a one career corner, one fame and recognition, one, what's the other one, mentorship corner, those are all fast food. They're not how it was done in the olden times. And you really want to stick to the original version, you guys, especially where fast food is concerned. Yeah, I love that. I think the term fast food feng shui, I may need to trademark that. I don't know. I'm not even sure if I'm the first one to come up with it, but I think it's really, really apt. So going back to the email that I received earlier today in terms of why do any feng shui enthusiast need to study flying star? It's obviously up to you, but if you want to go back to how the grandmasters did it before, Flying Star Feng Shui is definitely the school that you want to spend a little bit more time in. Okay, and in terms of doing another shameless pitch here, shameless plug on my Feng Shui 2016 event that's happening next Sunday, not tomorrow, but next Sunday. The difference is that, another question was, why do I need to attend this Feng Shui 2016 event? A very good question. Because, again, if you go into books, if you go online, there's a lot of websites or books that talk about what are the changes for the year of the monkey. What are the changes, even in terms of Flying Star Feng Shui, how the annual energy changes, and they talk about placements. The difference in my event is that we drill down to more information. So your placements are even more unique to your space. So even prior to the event, I will be sending out videos guiding you through how to determine what period your home is. Again, those who have started reading on classical feng shui, you know every space has a feng shui period 1 till period 9. I'm only concentrating on period 7 and period 8 homes because that's where the bulk of us live in, meaning you've moved into your space since 1984 or since 2004. Thereby, your space is period 7 or period 8. So I will actually drill down to, I'll go through with you what is the annual energetic changes for 2016, but what does it mean for period 7 homes? What does it mean for period 8 homes? And even, what does it mean if your home is facing west, if it's facing east? Not even just that. 24 mountains. You know, every direction is divided into 3, right? We're not just looking at east. We're looking at east 1, east 2, east 3. How each of these 24 mountains we call, which takes up 15 degrees on the compass, depending on what direction, what 15 degrees your home is facing, it will have a different experience in 2016. Okay, so that is the additional level that my event is giving you, that you will be hard pressed to find in books and online, unless of course you get an actual private consultation, or if you join my 12-week online program, which I talk, I go through everyone's layouts and I go through everything. Some of my students are actually on the scopes or on Hangout, so they know what I'm talking about. So really, the event, it's a 4-hour event, but we drill down to the nitty-gritty of stuff, you guys. And even if you have questions, I'm also opening up the chance for people to be asking me questions. So if you want to know not just what's the energy for 2016, if your question is, what is the energy in 2016 and how does that affect my period 7 or period 8 home facing, let's say, northwest 1? And I will go through all that, because not one placement is good for everyone. Even if we're updating it for 2016, If I say you need to place, just like for 2015, where generally everyone needs to place red elements in the center of the space, that is not true for every home. And if you don't drill down to the nitty-gritty, then you're likely to do more harm than good. And that is my problem with fast food feng shui, in that they put a lot of blanket recommendation. You guys, your space is as unique as your thumbprint. Okay? You cannot expect one advice that is to be applicable to everyone. There are always exceptions to the rule. And that is why I'm doing this event. So that is my rant. First is why do you need to learn Flying Star Feng Shui as opposed to other schools of Feng Shui? Is because it is the classical way of doing it, and it also updates the energy to the changes of time. Okay, and which is something that's very, very important for people to follow. And then the second is, I know classical feng shui takes a lot of information, just like, what I'm saying. You need to figure out what's your period. You need to figure out what facing your home or your building is. You need to do that even before you do any placements, right? Just like if you're sick and you go to a doctor, the doctor needs to run a whole battery of tests before they can rule you out for, or diagnose you and then give you a treatment protocol. That's classical feng shui. And that is, again, there's more work, there's more details that is needed. There's more, we're really putting your space under a microscope. We're really learning your layout in and out before we even give any form of placement advice. So that is what I do, and I have been doing that professionally for the past few years. I see results in my own life. My clients see results when placements are done properly. So if you've been following feng shui either weeks, months, or years, and your results are hit and miss, actually, you're probably not seeing results over seeing a little bit of results. From my experience, you're very likely doing fast food feng shui, and you definitely want to move away from that. I'm not saying that my products or services or events are the only solutions out there. There's definitely other teachers, other courses out there that talk about classical feng shui. Whatever it is, if you want to spend more money or more time learning feng shui, you want to make sure that you're following the right school. Okay, so that is all I'm wanting to share. My newborn daughter, she's just a month old right now. She's over on a high chair right off the side, and I can see her moving about. So I might need to start tending to her pretty soon. So thank you so much for your time in joining me on this quick scope and hangout. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me at safrina@fengshuiandprosper.com. I didn't write that down, but I did write something else down. For those of you guys who actually want to join me on my Feng Shui 2016 event, I would love to see you guys there. If you can see it, it's Feng Shui 2016.instapage.com. I'm going to try to fit it into my iPhone screen here. Feng Shui 2016.instapage.com. It's 4 hours. Well, we might take 10-15 minutes for a washroom break. It's 4 hours online. If you can watch YouTube, then you can definitely watch the event. It's very easily accessible. Once you register on that Instapage form, then I will be sending out a link leading up to Sunday, and as well as the pre-event homework for you to make sure that you have the right information to absorb as much as you can on Sunday. It's going to be jam-packed. Like I said, I do aim to over-deliver. You can ask me questions. I will be making it interactive. Ask questions as in you can type in your questions and I can answer you. So that's all I want to share for today. If there are any other feng shui topics that you want me to cover, feel free to email it to me. Give me inspiration for my daily scopes. And thanks so much for your time. Thank you so much for following me. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Take care.